All right, what is up, everybody? My name is Ryan, and welcome to the very first episode of The Green Truth. It's a space where we are going to unpack the science, the stories, and probably the most important is the stigma around cannabis. That's it. We are talking about all things cannabis. So, for those of you that are joining for the first time, my name is Ryan. I'm a husband, a dad, a content creator, and someone that's been sort of a seeker of truth, especially when it comes to things like mental health, healing, and finding purpose in this beautiful thing we call life. Now, I just want to be clear from the start, I have never used THC. That's a lie, maybe once, but that was one puff, and I thought I was stoned for 3 days. So I haven't used it recreationally or not even medically. But here I am, hosting a podcast about cannabis. You know, you might say, why? Because I believe it's time we started talking a little bit differently. See, for most of my life, up until about maybe 7 years ago, I thought that cannabis was just bad. Bad. Full stop. It made you lazy, it had the red eye, the bag of Doritos, it was dangerous, it was a gateway drug to worse things. Don't let your kids be around it, it will kill them. Where it came from, school, society, or even Sunday school, that was the narrative. But as I got older, I started digging into mental health, both personally and through the people I love. I began to notice something. More and more people were smart, responsible, even spiritually, were using cannabis, but not to get high, to heal. Now that made me pause, really stopped me in my foot tracks. Because I said to myself, how could you associate the word healing with cannabis? So I started a bit of research, read a few articles, talked to some doctors, watched a few documentaries, and it honestly blew my mind in terms of the information that I found. Simple little things. So let's talk a little bit of facts. So in 2020, it was a great year that the COVID virus started. The same year, a study in the Journal of Cannabis Research looked at over 1,200 medical cannabis users. The top 3 reasons why people were using it. Number 1 was chronic pain. Number 2 was anxiety. And number 3 was depression. And get this, yesterday, over 90% of them reported improvements in their conditions. Now let that just sink in. 90%. I mean, I haven't got 90% for anything in my life. And that case study reported 90% of people reported an improvement in their condition. Another study done in 2021, published in the Frontiers in Psychology, found that CBD, now that's the non-psychoactive part of the plant, so that won't get you high. It had a significant anti-anxiety effect, especially people dealing with social anxiety. I'm one of them for sure. Social anxiety was one of my biggest fears, rooted deep in my mental health trauma that I've been carrying on for most of my life. It interacts with the serotonin receptor. That's exactly the same receptor that antidepressants target. But with cannabis, you get the benefits without having the side effects. That's what a lot of people struggle with. Again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that cannabis is a miracle cure. And I'm definitely not telling you to ditch your meds and go hug a hemp bush. But what I am trying to say is maybe it's time we challenge the fear-based narrative. We grew up and start asking better questions. I think that's the point, is to just start asking questions, because with asking questions comes curiosity, curiosity, and with curiosity comes discovery. And hopefully we will all get to a stage where we're like, oh, we never knew about that. Oh, I didn't know that. Because, let's be honest, man, cannabis didn't end up on the naughty list because of rock solid science. Definitely not. Most of the stigma comes from old school propaganda like the famous reefer madness back in the 1930s. The message was wild. The message was absolutely wild, but people believed it. It was literally suggesting that smoking cannabis would turn you into a crazed criminal or ruin your life overnight. Genuinely, that was the message based on no science, but that was the message. Then in 1970, it got thrown into the same drug category as heroin. I mean, come on, heroin. Heroin and cannabis are the same category. On what world are these two even remotely similar? And all of that stigma trickled down to the rest of the world, including us here in South Africa. And before long, cannabis became the taboo thing, even though it's one of the oldest medicinal plants in human history. So it's been around for so long, something natural, but we still demonize it. We're talking about thousands of years that's been used across many different cultures, in traditional African medicine, in Chinese medicine, even in ancient India. People have been using this plant for pain relief, for sleep, anxiety, and spiritual rituals, long before the word THC even existed. So why does this matter to me, you may ask, a guy who's never used it? So the thing is that I care about the truth. I care about people who are suffering physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I might be missing out on real solutions. It's just, I think that they are missing out on solutions because of outdated narratives. And I've seen people close to me find real relief through cannabis. And I've also seen the judgment they face for it as well. And it doesn't really sit well with me. It may be different if we were dealing with crack, but we're not. We're dealing with cannabis here. And maybe you're listening and thinking, oh, Ryan, what about the addiction? What about the side effects? Yeah, those are valid questions. But this podcast isn't about ignoring the risks. It's exploring all sides. The science, the spirituality, the healing, the red flags, the legal stuff, and the hope too. Because if something natural can help someone sleep again after months of insomnia, or ease chronic pain where nothing else worked, should we really be whispering about it in shame? That's the real question. So that's what the Green Truth is about. We're not here to glamorize cannabis. We're not here to shame it either. We're here to learn, laugh, challenge old beliefs, and listen to people whose lives have genuinely changed. Over the next few episodes, we'll be chatting with doctors, farmers, therapists, and everyday people, all bringing different perspectives on this misunderstood plant. I'll bring in the research, the questions, and hopefully some clarity along the way. And who knows, man, maybe even a few laughs too. Because if we can't talk about healing with a little bit of lightness, what are we even doing? So thanks again for being here. If something in this episode got you thinking or challenged something you thought you knew, it's a win. Let's keep this conversation going. You can find me on other social media platforms and join me on this journey as I discover more and more about cannabis, and collectively, hopefully we can learn together about unpacking the science, the red flags, the benefits, and the data that has been surrounding